That got me thinking, and it led me to have this question, which is, what is up with that song and how did it come about?
Oh my God, I love this.
So grab
Oh
your
my gosh.
Oh My Loves and dive in with me.
Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, romance novelists, and your K-romance guides. So grab some dekboki and listen to your new favorite unease.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi there.
So, we all kind of have like different temperaments. And I think that anyone who's listened to the pod for a while is no stranger to the fact that, Amy knows her way around a to-do list and she likes to like check off things and, get things done. And Megan and I, while we may have a lot of ideas and we bring a lot of things to the world, our executive functions may be like more underdeveloped. Would that be fair?
No,
Okay.
that's absolutely fair.
Not to say the two of you aren't good doers, though.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
But I have to like almost be in the mood to do.
Yes.
And would you say well rested to do?
So, Amy, why don't we first just get a quick sense of like kind of, you've been really getting into like the self-improvement lately. It's like, autumn, we're getting ready for like the new year, I guess. Like, you're just kind of like, you're looking to like solidify some intentions, and it's rubbing off on us in different ways that we're soon going to unpack.
It's still kind of new for me. As much as I love a list, I don't usually, list out how I'm going to live my life, which is, new for me, and it's kind of fun. I have never been one to keep a journal or a paper planner, which I know you guys have done. At least I know Megan has done like the, you're into the planner thing. But I have decided to be more intentional. I need to start writing things down. And so I got a planner, and I'm going to it's a planner that has a vision board in it. And I'm all about, like setting my intentions and saying that I'm going to do the thing and scheduling the thing. I think that's the biggest thing, is to schedule. Not just like, I've got to take my daughter to the doctor tomorrow, or, my son to the orthodontist. Like, schedule stuff for me, which is very new for me. And I took a class at work last week. It was, if you know the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's Covey's 7 Habits, and there's classes for it. And one of the questions was like, what do you do for yourself? Like, how do you serve you? And I was like, So that's something that I'm getting into. And I'm trying to pull you two into it with me. Not that you two don't do that stuff, but I'm trying to pull you into it because I feel like it's better when you've got accountability. And I think that we can be really great at holding each other accountable. I'm still struggling with getting you guys back on Supernatural, but it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It will happen. It'll happen, and then it'll happen so much that you'll be like, oh no, my leaderboard is just Leah dominating me.
Well, because I feel like maybe I'm taking the wrong tactic right now, which is shaming you guys.
No, it's okay. You probably should.
With pictures of my workouts that you guys aren't responding to. But anyway.
Do you know what it is actually right now? It's not even Supernatural. This is where you kind of fucked it up. If you want but I mean, like, really, this is a me issue, not a you issue, is you start talking about the complicated software updates and passcodes that you need to do to move it forward. And so every time I'm about to do it, I'm like, but I just don't feel like sitting there trying to like deal with that.
Okay, so it's actually not. The only thing that's annoying about it is you have to see the code in the headset and then type it into your phone. So it's just a pain in the ass.
Unless you're like me and you forget like all your passwords and stuff.
Know any passwords.
Yeah, well then you're like me.
No,
and then
you didn't need to know a password. You just needed to be like, are you going to log in with Facebook?
Well, yeah, but I
do.
I have 2 Facebook accounts,
so
I logged in with the wrong one, and it was like a whole mess.
This is me.
It was like a whole mess.
I'm going to be like, which of the 12 passwords that I use is this one?
Here's another thing. This is just kind of coming to me now, is I also feel like trying to get the two of you on board for something that I'm doing is akin to trying to get my kids to do something. Like, they have to hear it from somebody that they think is cooler than me.
So, wait, hold on.
Megan.
Listen, no.
Megan.
Yeah, no, listen. Okay, so my husband, Neil has been telling me for years to listen to how this got made. the podcast. I'm talking literal years. Probably however long that podcast has been on air. Neil's like, you have to listen to
Which
this
has
episode.
been a long time. I didn't realize how long it was.
He sent me links. Okay, and then you were like, Megan, you need to watch or you need to listen to the How It Got Made episode of Con Air. And I was
But
like...
I first have to give credit to Kara, our podcast listener from Patreon, who's the one who recommended it during our live last week.
True. But then you were like, hey, I listened
listened
to it and it's really good. And I was like, okay, so I took a walk and I listened to it. And I came home and I was like, hey,
It's
Neil,
the funniest thing you've ever heard.
Amy told me to Amy told me to listen to How It Got Made at Con Air. And he just goes, stop. Don't even talk to me. I don't want to hear it. He's so mad because it happens all the time where he tells me to do something and then I don't do it until like, I guess someone I consider cooler than him.
Well, but here's where I'm getting with this. So I love that. For those of you who don't know the podcast, How Did This Get Made? It is Jason Mantzoukas, June Diane, and Paul Scheer, and they pick apart movies that never should have gotten made. But
it's
did.
hysterical.
And it's so funny.
The Con Air episode, I'm walking and I'm like
crying laughing.
Me too.
I haven't listened to it yet, so
I look like an insane person. I'm walking like in public and I'm just cracking up, like just laughing.
And
like
I'm driving to work like this. But where I'm trying to get with this is I've been talking about, well, we've all been talking about manifesting for a while, and that's not new, but I've been talking about this cubby class that I took, a couple weeks ago, and these great ideas that I got from it, and you guys are yeah, that's great. But then Megan sees a post from somebody in an author group.
Oh, yeah.
Who is not me.
Oh, I did not realize this. See, this is a Megan issue. I think you're cool enough.
Yeah.
Megan doesn't.
I do. Yeah, my friend Victoria, and she's like, I bought all these books, and then I like bought all the books that she recommended. And you're like, what the heck?
Like, it's all manifesting. It's what I've been talking about. No, it's cool because you got me to like look at some of these books too.
Yeah, because
which I think is great.
What I'm reading right now is called Atomic Habits, and it's really good for me. I would say right now it's like hitting me, and what it's saying is what I need to hear right now. And yeah, it's all about like building positive habits and things like that. Well, as he said, there's no good and bad habits. They're just habits, and it's just depending on like which habits you want to keep and which habits you don't.
Biting my nails is a bad habit.
Yeah, and he even like that's an example in the book. So I
think you can qualify habits as good and bad though.
Yeah, but he said like most habits are solving a problem. It might just be like a habit you don't like.
Right.
Like he said, like biting your nails maybe helps ease your anxiety. Yeah. So he's like, it's a habit that's working. It's just you don't maybe want it. It's kind of interesting, but
right.
I have a habit. I do use a paper planner, and I have what's called a habit tracker in my planner. So my habit tracker now so I mark like every day I did something. So I took a walk and I marked, Monday and Tuesday I took a walk, and I'm going to read an hour of nonfiction. So I mark off every day. I mark off which days. And then my third thing is that I took no naps. Because I know
we're not just talking power naps here, people.
No, I mean,
how long of a nap do you take?
Yeah, I'll take like a 1 to 2 hour nap, and I'm talking full REM. I wake up and I don't know what day it is. Like I wake up and I'm like, oh my god, I have to get the kids on the bus, and it's like 3:00.
Oh my god. Can I be your sister wife?
What? Yeah. Well, it's like. It's bad because it's like a habit now that I've trained my body to think I have to sleep then. So I've like.
So she was talking about this before we got on, and Megan saying she's like I need a lot of sleep. I'm like, do you?
I know.
Or have you trained yourself to think you need this extra sleep?
I think you're right. I honestly think you're right. I don't think I do need any extra sleep than any other person.
You know what? But if it's giving you joy, who am I to judge? And the thing we can compare it to is how I showed up like a bat out of hell hot mess in the middle of like 12 different like work emergencies and a whole bunch of and I mean that like not me emergencies. Like I'm responding to actual emergencies. They're not like myself, like the work emergencies where you've like effed up.
Yeah.
No, these are more just like part of my job is helping with, problem solving. But the thing is that like I don't celebrate a culture of overwork or being harried or showing up as like the hot mess that I show up to like most things at the moment. So to me, I think there's something nice about it. I need, like, for me, what happens is I don't do something and then somehow one day I just wake up and like I'm just doing that thing again. And then I hate it though, because I think my problem is that I'll do it like supernatural. Like I did it for like what, 9 months. And so I was like, oh, maybe I finally like kicked the bug and I like finally like have my habit that I'm doing now. And then when I like fell out of it when I went to Australia and like my power thing didn't work, then I was like, oh shit, like, you know. So
Yeah.
then you get like the
Well,
shame and blame. I've got to get past that. Thank you for the therapy. I've got to get past that, forgive myself, and move forward.
So one of the things that is talked about in Atomic Habits is not to like beat yourself up.
Yeah,
and fall back into a pattern,
Virgo.
but to
I'm a
just
Virgo.
but to just try again, you know, kind of thing. To try, and I think that's, you shame yourself and then you're like, well, I fucked up, so I might as well just keep fucking up. And I do that all the time. And I'm not shaming Megan for her napping, but I am laughing because she revamped our entire website. During her,
in like
during her
non-nap
nap time.
During
her non-nap time.
That's why, see, this is the thing. I don't want, it'd be different if like, you can't shame me. Like I don't care. I don't care if anyone shames me. I'm going to keep napping if I want to nap. But I reached the point where I was like, no, that is a waste of my time. I need to be working and it's messing up my sleep at night. So today, I revamped the whole website during my nap time today. And I was
just laughed about seeing your actual nap time on your to-do.
Yeah, it's
her non-nap.
My no-nap.
Her no-nap.
My no-nap on my to-do.
Yeah.
So, and I would tell you right now, I feel much better that I accomplished something that needed to get done than I do when I wake up from a nap. So like the reward, this is again what they talk about in Atomic Habits, the reward for not taking a nap is greater than if I took a nap. Yeah, it's been good. I feel like better. And absolutely I've been sleeping better at night. So that's why I was like, all right, you know what? And I got stuff done today. So, I mean, by the time this pod comes out, you'll see our new website. So I hope you enjoy it.
And hopefully we've been all tracking our habits for the 2 weeks between now and then.
Check in on us.
Right? Hold us accountable. Because I do, like, after tonight, like, I have this book that I need to edit by Friday. And I'm like, almost there.
Yeah.
Almost there. But that's like October 1st. I'm starting my planner. And I've already started writing, like, you know, there's like questions at the beginning, like, you know, what brings you joy in your life? Mm-hmm. You know, what would you do if money wasn't an object? Mm-hmm. And then there is, you know, what does your ideal relationship look like? And then there's like 2 full pages for a vision board in there, which I've never done before. But I'm going to do a professional vision board and then I'm going to do a personal vision board.
Oh, I want to see them then. You don't have to like show that to the listeners. That's probably personal,
no, I will not show it to the listeners.
Yeah, but I would like to.
Yeah,
I want to see it. Yeah. Okay. So there are questions that we ask ourselves when we're manifesting and creating good habits. And K-dramas have also made us ask ourselves some questions.
All right.
Right? So basically, I think this is our second one, right? We've only done one I have questions.
I think we've done a couple. I think we've done a couple.
Okay.
This might be our third.
Yeah, it's one of those. But it's another installment of I have questions, which basically is just that watching K-dramas has brought up some questions that then we nerd out and we do a little research and we then tell you our research in case you are interested and you had questions.
Sometimes, like in my case, like I did not get definitive answers, but I learned some stuff, which I think is good too.
Yeah, and I think it's always interesting. I mean, obviously you have to take K-dramas with a grain of salt. Obviously, there's going to be things that are dramatized. Well, you know, I think about
anything that's fiction. Take
right, because I think about, you know, if someone in another country who's never been to America watches, say, like Sex in the City, they're probably like, I have a lot of questions about New York,
right? And about, like, especially about New York real estate, because Carrie's apartment, like that closet, does not exist.
Yeah, no one has that apartment in New York, especially like a columnist, and that's all she does. And she's not, you know, strutting around a different Manolo Blahnik. So yeah, I always keep that in mind, but that's okay. It still is fun to like learn a little bit more about things, and that's kind of why we do this, in the spirit of just learning.
Right. I think any fictional depiction of a culture is going to be, you know, amped and over the top as far as like reality. And I think that we should always expect that, whether it's somebody watching something from America or us watching something from somewhere else. Like, because yes, there are times when fiction is making a comment on reality, but also there are times where it's just heightening the climax because it's fun to watch. So, like you said, take it with a grain of salt.
So I have been watching Cafe Minimdong and enjoying it. And I just wanted to know a little bit more about shamanism because I find it super fascinating as I'm watching it. And I don't know what's very fictionalized, for a drama, what's kind of accurate. And so...
How about before you go on, for anybody who hasn't watched Cafe Minimdong, give just like a little... Like, what's the premise of the drama?
Right. So Cafe Minimdong basically is a former police profiler, decides to pretend to be a shaman, and he has many reasons that are a little murky, but essentially he's trying to solve a crime, something that happened to a friend of his. I feel like that's vague enough.
Do it right. He can't do it as a police officer because he was in prison.
Right.
Like he lost his job. That's known in the first episode. Like, first episode is he is getting out of prison. So
he's getting out of prison and kind of falls into the job as someone mistakes him for a shaman. And he's like, oh, okay. And it's just kind of like a nice little front. It's a way for him to make money while he's still like investigating. And essentially he's kind of like getting back at some of the people that he thinks are, it's interesting. So yeah, that's like the premise. And so, yeah, I just wanted to know basically a little bit more about shamanism. So I did a little research and I am really interested. You know what? I want to say first that, so, I live in Pennsylvania and witch doctors were very prominent in my area in the early 1900s. They were very prominent in the early 1900s. So there's actually a really, really famous murder in my area that happened in 1928 that had to do with like a river witch and hexing and witch doctors, and it's really interesting. But it reminded me a little bit of shamanism in that I learned that shamanism is performed primarily for practical purposes, which is similar to witch doctors. So they're trying to heal, they're trying to protect from something, solve problems, bring good fortune, avoid misfortune. So it's not necessarily like a worship type of practice, it's practical, which makes sense too if you watch Cafe Minimdong, because people come to him with problems. Like that is why they're coming to him. And so the most common term for a female shaman in Korea is mudong. They themselves tend to prefer the term manshin. And male shamans in Korea are generally called baksu mudong or simply baksu. And the primary function of a mudong is the performance of an elaborate ritual called kut, in which the mudong will act as the mediator between the spirits and the people. Because, the belief of shamanism is that the world is pervaded by spirits, and they play an important role in the lives of people. And the mudongs have a certain calling that allows them to communicate with the spirit world. And so the shaman will act as a mediator between the human world and the spirit world. And I was also interested because in Cafe Minimdong, he kind of almost goes into like these like dances and trances. And I wanted to know if that was something that happens. And yeah, the individuals, the shamans, have like trance-inducing techniques to enter an altered state of consciousness in order to interact with the spirit world. And in that trance is when they can be the intermediary. So I also was really interested in Cafe Minimdong, he always has these like bells. And I really wanted to know like kind of more about the bells. And when I tried to like find out more, I feel like all I could get was listings of people selling them. Like there's like tons of like eBay listings. Like, do you want to buy them? And I'm like, no, I just want to know maybe a little bit more about them. But one thing I did find is I think you say a bujok. It's Bujeok. Mm-hmm. And they have them in Cafe Minimdong, but another thing they had them in was A Tale of the Nine-Tailed. Remember they had like the talismans, the like yellow talismans with like the red writing?
Yes.
And I remember because we weren't quite sure what those were when we were watching Tale of the Nine-Tailed, or we were like a little unsure, right? Because are you talking about like the paper thing? Yeah. Because
they also had them in The King Eternal Monarch.
That's it. Yeah. So I didn't know this. So they're typically inscribed in red letters on yellow paper, and those are considered both good luck colors. And they can, be placed in the home or carried on the person. Because I do remember too, in some of those, you're supposed to like carry it with you. So the background color of the paper is normally yellow because that is the color that repels evil spirits. And the designs are inscribed in red ink, which represents blood and fire, which basically symbolizes life and human emotions. And it says, and that's another thing too, I thought the designs looked like Chinese characters. And it says, while they do look like Chinese characters, they are called spirit writings. That can only be interpreted by the Mudong, the shaman. Okay. Yeah, they said sometimes the overall design does have Chinese characters,
but it's symbols that only the shaman can read.
Yeah, that's like only they can interpret, which I thought was really, really cool. And it still is practiced, obviously, in South Korea. An estimated 50,000 shamanic ceremonies are held each year in Seoul, according to a scholar of religion at Songgang University. And a lot of like the modern reasons would be like to bring good harvests, help villages or communities prosper, and to like assist souls of the dead. And they tell fortunes. And I don't know, I know I've seen in like dramas where they go to a shaman and they ask about the name, like what should I name my child? Mm-hmm. And that's obviously still so common. They help them choose names, or they serve as matchmakers, things like that. So it's definitely still practiced. And there's like a whole complicated, like I'm not going to get into that, but there's a whole complicated thing about who can be like a shaman and how you get initiated and everything like that. That's another like whole complicated system. But yeah, I just found it really interesting that a lot. So what we've been seeing, obviously, in dramas, a lot of that is still practiced.
Except in Cafe Minamdong, he's impersonating a shaman, and the person who's considered a real shaman. There's some issues there too, right. in Cafe. So just, right. I mean, don't go if you haven't watched it yet. Don't go into Cafe Minamdong thinking that you're going to get to see some legit shamanism.
Yeah, because I mean, you find this out in episode 1, but like he obviously, like, they think he's a shaman because he's like able to tell things, but it's because he has this like super smart hacker sister. So while he's like in his like room performing his rituals or his kuts, he has
camera glasses on.
Yeah, he's camera glasses, and he has her in his ear telling him things. And also he's like a really smart criminal profiler, right. So he is able to like read people really well. So he's using like people-based skills. So, yeah. but I mean, like I said, we've seen other dramas where shamanism has been depicted, and like I said, it just reminded me a little. I'm not trying to compare. It's like they're totally different things, but it just did remind me a little bit, because, like I said, the witch doctors, of some of the European settlers that came over practiced it, and it was same. It was like practical. Like you went to a witch doctor to like bless your baby, or to, especially, they're very big on healing. They were like, people went to them instead. Well, a witch doctor, obviously that's the name. Use them a lot for healing. So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, and Seonggook in Cafe Minamdong is fantastic. I mean, I don't think he's trying to make fun. I don't think that's the point of it. But
no, I don't either.
He's using it to his advantage to solve a murder, and he's doing it really well.
Yeah, no, I don't think he is either, because he's also not really lying to these people.
No, he's not. He's actually helping people.
He's actually
like the people, like he's making money doing this. Like, while he's trying to solve, this murder of his friend, he's making money doing this. But the people that he sort of cons are actually getting something out of it. So
they are. He like helps some woman. I mean, he helps some woman like find missing money. I mean, he's like he's like actively helping these people. So it is kind of interesting. But he's doing it all under the guise of shamanism.
Right. Not for nefarious.
And the costuming is very cool.
Yes, it is. Okay, so the drama that I'm currently watching slowly on episode 6 is If You Wish Upon Me. Yeah, it is. It's emotional, but also I'm in the middle of a book edit, so like I can't watch like more than like an episode a week right now.
I cut you off too. You say the drama again.
Oh, it's If You Wish Upon Me with Ji Chang-wook and Soo-young. So anyway, this is not a spoiler because this is stuff that you find out in the first episode, but then it also reminded me of another drama where I am going to spoil something, but I'll let you know when that comes. In the first episode, Ji Chang-wook's character gets out of prison and he goes to pick up his dog, Son, at the veterinarian where it's
Adul. I think Adul, that's like how you say son.
Is that how you say son?
I think it's like Adul.
So he goes to pick up his dog, and the vet is the vet.
His name, it's funny too, because his name is similar to friend in Korean, which is Jingu.
Jingu, which
And
sounds
his
like
name is
Chingu.
Jingu.
Right.
So it's like the
it's
friend.
Jingu. And they
It's
make
funny.
a lot of jokes based on
Yeah,
it. But so his friend's name is, the friend is Jingu, but he says we're not really friends. And when he's arguing, when Ji Chang-wook's character is arguing whether or not Jingu is his friend, he's like, we're not friends just because we were at the same orphanage together. Like, I grew up in that orphanage, whereas you were only dropped off there for a little while your parents were finalizing their divorce. And it was like record scratch. I was like, what?
Like, what?
It's like, can you do that? Like, can you just like drop your kid in an orphanage while you're working on your divorce? So that was red flag number 1.
Yeah.
And then it made me go back to her private life. So close your ears for a second because I'm going to spoil the big like climax of her private life.
Maybe still be vague about it.
I'll be vague, but I'm still going to spoil it. Like there is a character.
You don't have to say who it is. You can just say,
but there's a character in her private life who is adopted. Okay. And the way that this character ends up at the orphanage is what the big twist is. Okay. So if you're watching her private life and you know who the adopted character is and you don't want to find this out yet, just close your ears for a second. So what happens is, we learn in a flashback, is that a woman rescues a little boy who seems to have been abandoned at the park. He's like grade school age, like 8, 9, right? Like 7, 8, or 9, somewhere around there. And takes the boy home because she thinks he's abandoned. She has a child of her own. Well, she has children of her own. And she takes this boy in, doesn't go to the police, nothing, doesn't know what the kid's parent situation is, takes him in for about a month, but then has tragedy happen in her own life and can no longer mentally care for this young boy who she took home from the park. So in the middle of the night...
Who she took him from park like a lost puppy.
Yes, for a month. So in the middle of the night, she just drops him on the steps of an orphanage and leaves. And what we find out...
literally drops him on the stairs. Like,
yes.
No one comes out to get him. He's just there crying on the stairs in the dark.
He's just there crying on the stairs like a fully functioning child who can speak and tell you his name. And she leaves. Okay? All we know is that somehow from there, he ends up getting adopted by an American family and goes to America and comes back, as an adult. Okay? Okay. So I hear this thing about the divorce and if you wish upon me, and then it makes me think of her private life. And I'm like, what are the rules of adoption in South Korea? Okay? Again, suspend your disbelief in K-dramas because obviously neither of these things could happen in real life. Okay.
We have another Carrie Bradshaw in New York situation.
Yes.
This is not accurate.
So this is not, K-dramas saying, look at how messed up our adoption system is. You can just drop a fully functioning child who could speak and tell you his name and tell you what his mom's name is. You could just put him on the steps of an orphanage and nobody says boo. Okay? So no, that can't happen. So here, child abandonment is an issue all over the world. So I'm not here making a comment on child abandonment in South Korea, but I'm going to tell you about a law that was passed and how, because of this law being passed, these parents could never have done the things that they did without getting arrested. Okay. So most of my info comes from this website called thegroundtruthproject.org as well as Wikipedia. So in 2012, the Special Adoption Act was passed in South Korea, and its aim was to protect the children, but it had some fallout. So here are the rules, the sort of like conditions of this Adoption Act. Birth parents need to wait at least 7 days after their child is born before they can consent to placing their child up for adoption. Number 2, birth parents must receive counseling on the various resources that would be available to them if they choose to raise the child themselves. And 3, birth parents must go through family court to place their child up for adoption, meaning that the adoption will be part of government records. Okay? The law also mandates that birth mothers list their babies in their family registry in order for them to be eligible for international adoption. And this kind of came about because a lot of Korean children who are adopted internationally, coming back to the country and not being able to trace their roots because there's no record of them.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
this
interesting,
became so this became part of it. So the legislative intent behind this was to keep children with their biological families, hopefully, and reduce the number of foreign adoptions and encourage more domestic adoptions. Unfortunately, what has happened, particularly with unwed mothers who don't want to be stigmatized for having a baby out of wedlock, is that more babies are being abandoned because otherwise they have to register the child under their name, which totally takes away their anonymity.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. That's really tricky.
Okay,
Yes.
it is tricky. I see, because on one hand, I get it. On the second hand,
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's that, there's that stigmatization of being an unwed mother in South Korea. And so that has, made the numbers rise. And it's also made the number of abandonments rise because South Korea does not have safe haven laws like the US does, meaning that if you do abandon your child and you're caught, even if you do it in a safe haven type of way, like there are some churches now that have, started having like safe haven boxes to put babies in. And there's a church, it's called Jusarong in Seoul, and it started a baby box program where the mothers can safely abandon their babies. It's a temperature controlled box, the baby is safe. And then what happens is the church then brings the baby to the police and they're entered into the Korean welfare system. But if the mother is caught, then she's in trouble with the law, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Right? So this is all just to say, while it did not give me a specific answer like, can you drop your kid in an orphanage while you're getting a divorce? Or can you drop a kid in an orphanage who you've kept in your home for a month, even though you don't know if this kid's parents exist out there? The answer, I think, has to be no, because it's illegal. Like, it's illegal to do so. Especially if that child is not your own. Like, there's so much, there's so much wrong with that. It's illegal. That's illegal. Like, it's not her child anyway. It's not her child anyway. There's nothing to register. It's not her child. She should have brought this child to the police the day she found him wandering
Double
the
whammy
park.
illegal.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty weird that the police were never brought in to be like, I found this child. Instead, it was like, I found this child. I will. Yeah, okay. We've
Guys,
the
that's
child
what
wasn't.
lost
The
me.
child wasn't like, this is my name. This is my mother's name. Instead, it was like,
go to
nope,
this school.
Here's
This
a
is my
lovely,
address.
here's a lovely American couple who would like to take you. Bye bye. Like that would never happen. Okay, so that was number one. So yeah, so If You Wish Upon Me in the very first episode, I was like, what? And then the second thing is very small, and it also came from If You Wish Upon Me. So my question was, how long can you live while in hospice care? And if you are terminal, are you still well enough to write, produce, and star in your own musical?
Stop.
I know the answer to this, and I haven't even seen the drama yet.
So
I freaking
You
loved it.
curmudgeon?
I don't care. I love that musical with all my heart and soul. Okay.
Yeah, you end of life curmudgeon.
no, I'm not.
Why do you
like,
make a wish?
So, If You Wish Upon Me has this genie program where it is a hospice that has volunteers who do like a Make-A-Wish type thing where they try and give you whatever you want, for your last days in life. And so every couple of episodes, it's kind of like Move to Heaven or Tomorrow. They're vignettes about a certain person's wish and how that wish gets, realized, in addition to like the frame story of Ji Chang-wook's character and his past. So this is just one of the vignettes. I'm not going to like spoil all of it for you, but in this one vignette, Park Jin-ju is the patient at hospice, and her wish is she has this musical that she wrote and she wants to perform it with this famous idol. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to talk about the episode, but it really raised a question for me because, I've had relatives in hospice before, and they've passed pretty quickly after moving to hospice, because hospice, in my definition, and I just in case we're not all aware of hospice, and hospice is defined the same way in America as it is in South Korea, is that hospice is palliative care for terminally ill patients, basically meaning the patients are kept comfortable for as much time as they have left. They try to keep them comfortable and out of pain for as much time as they have left. But my question was, how long can you last in hospice? And I did find that in the US, 12 to 15% of hospice patients live 6 months in hospice.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
after, because, yeah.
And then you have
I've
to
had
basically like
relatives-
reapply for hospice
Yes.
like after that.
You're like, I'm
I
still
have
dying.
family-
I'm sorry.
I have family who've done that, actually.
Really?
Wagging
Okay.
the finger. Megan, it's okay. Yeah, where, yes, they are in palliative care, and it is, yeah, and that was my question of like, what happens if you like continue in palliative care, because you're kind of in this like slightly nebulous situation.
God, that's
And yeah,
weird.
you can either reapply or you get moved into some other system.
That was really where my question, kind of came from, is like, because of the experience that I've had in my family with hospice and losing people pretty quickly after they end up there. But no, 12 to 15% have made it 6 months or longer, while closer to 50% usually pass within a few weeks. And so it is not unrealistic that this character would have been able to write, produce, and perform in her musical. So there was that. So yeah, but what I did find as far as like hospice in South Korea is because Megan and I were talking about this and wondering if maybe the definition of hospice is just different and maybe it's something in the translation, but it's not. But hospice is newer in South Korea as far as being part of the government healthcare system. And right now, through South Korea's healthcare system, hospice is only available to terminally ill cancer patients.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. That is according to the Journal of Hospice and Palliative Care. But yeah, so it's a fairly new thing. It's covered by the Republic of Korea's healthcare system, but right now it's only available to terminal cancer patients. So I thought that was interesting because they're not so far, and if you wish upon me, nothing is being spoken as far as like what are people ill with in hospice.
They're actually vague a lot about it.
Yeah, which I think is fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine too because that's not what it's about. It's not it is not a medical show. That is the thing. I thought it was going to be too like there's no surgeries.
No surgeries, no court cases.
Yeah, it's not a medical show. Like not even close. So, yeah. I think that's probably why.
So anyway, Megan and I were talking about it before I did any research, and she's like, you know what, I'm just suspending my disbelief. I loved that episode. I cried, and I did too. Yeah. Okay, 100% loved it, but not so far-fetched. So there you go.
Yeah. There's so much in this drama that you just have to suspend your disbelief, and I suspend the shit out of it because I love it, and I know it's like, a little crazy, and I don't care.
Well, I'm excited to start watching it. And yeah, I think that basically death and dying, take many forms and you can be in many different spaces. So, we're all on our journeys.
All right. And now it's one of our favorite parts of the show, the K-pop rec of the week. And Megan, what do you have for us this week?
So this week I have something a little different. I'm really excited about it. So the song is called New Thing and it's by Zico. And look, it was released just as a mission song for Street Man Fighter or Street Male Fighter, which is basically a reality competition show in South Korea for male dancers. Basically, the contestants had to choreograph for this song. So I first saw the choreography video, and first of all, the choreography bangs. It goes so hard. It is awesome. And then I'm really into the song, and I was like, what song is this? And I was trying to find it and find when it came out, and then I realized it was released literally just for the show. But Zico is very famous in South Korea. Zico was a part of Block B, which was a very, very famous idol group, but he's old, he's already been through the military. He's 30 I think now, and I love Zico.
So old.
Yeah, and I know, right? But Zico's one of my favorite South Korean rappers, and this song is just so fun. I just love it. I love it so much. And when I was looking for it, I realized that I was doing research on the song, and it's hitting the charts in South Korea. I get it. Other people love it too. It has all these listens on Melon and Genie and all those streaming services that are popular in Asia. And so I'm really happy for Zico, and it's a great song. So again, it's called New Thing. It's by Zico, which is spelled Zico. And I really heavily recommend you take a look on YouTube, search for it on YouTube and look at the Street Man Fighter videos and performances to this song because it is so much fun. And the choreography is so fun. There's this one contestant, his name's Vata. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Vata. And in the video and in the live performance, he's wearing this green jacket. He's really tall. He's wearing these black pants. He's Chelsea boots and this deep green jacket, and he is just something else. You cannot take your eyes off of him. He's definitely a star. So good for him, good for the choreography, good for Zico.
If you enjoy our podcast, you have our patrons to thank, at least in part. Afternoona Delight Patreon allows us to keep creating content for y'all to enjoy. Thank you so much to everyone who is supporting us there. And not to brag, but our Patreon community is pretty awesome, and you can join at a tier that feels good to you. Gain access to fun perks like K-drama posts, monthly Patreon-only bonus podcasts, and even a live K-drama support group on Zoom. Because we know firsthand what it's like to have no one to talk to about those crazy plot twists, amazing characters, and all those feelings. And look, no one should have to walk that walk alone. So learn more by visiting afternoonadelight.com. That's www.afternoonadelight.com. And hey, while you're on the website, you can check out Afternoona Delight podcast merch, find links to book recommendations, bop along to our K-pop recs, glow up your skin with K-merch recs, find all of our social media, and a link to our email so you can send us recommendations or feedback. And hey, while you're at it, why don't you pop over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review? It really helps with our discoverability. 감사합니다.
So I was talking in our Patreon this week about making a new OST playlist. And someone was like, can you even have a K-drama OST playlist if it doesn't feature Michael Learns to Rock's song, Eternal Love from Healer? So that got me thinking, and it led me to have this question, which is, what is up with that song and how did it come about?
Oh my God, I love this.
So grab your
my gosh.
Oh my loves and dive in with me. So Eternal Love is meant to be the musical theme for Seo Jung-hoo's character played by Ji Chang-wook. And it's meant to kind of track and express his soft marshmallow underbelly, not like more the tapped down emotions of Healer, but kind of his true self. And it's sung by the Danish band Michael Learns to Rock, or MLTR, as they like to be called these days.
Oh,
And they're
okay.
on the record for saying that they are happy that they could communicate with their Korean fans through this OST, and said, we have sung with Korean artists before, but never exclusively for a K-drama, and we think it's an honor to participate in a K-drama because that is the heart of Hallyu. So I'm going to come back to that because I was like, wow, you seem to know quite a lot about K-dramas. So it's also interesting to know that MLTR did not compose or write the song. They did help with some of the arrangements. But this lack of creative control is apparently not so unusual for OSTs. For example, in Mr. Sunshine, Hwang Chi-hyul, who sang the OST How Can I Forget, he talked about the recording process in one of his V-Lives and said that when he was recording it, the music director came to the set of the recording, talked about like the background of the drama. This kind of character was really associated with Eugene Choi's character. So he would like talk about the character of Eugene Choi, give him visuals of like what like the character was, kind of the set. So really it was kind of like very intentionally part of the drama. And so this obviously led me to more questions, because if OSTs are often calculated kind of business decisions and artistic decisions, like was Michael Learns to Rock a get artist for Korean audiences? So that's what took me into like a bigger rabbit hole. So formed in 1988, this band, which consists of Yasa Richter, I'm hoping that I'm getting these names right because they're Danish, Mikael Lenz and Kar Wanscher. The band has sold over 11 million records over the course of their career, but the majority has been sold in Asia. So despite being Danish, they sing in English, and they attribute their success in the Asian market to having a drug-free, clean living image and the fact that they sing in English. The band's drummer has his own theory as to why they're so beloved there. And he says, quote, I think that few bands have the same impact on Asian and Southeast Asian fans as we do, especially because of the way our music fits into the tradition of karaoke. So I thought that was interesting.
Ooh.
And he also said our lyrics are easy to understand. And in many Asian countries, that helps give us recognition because English is not their first language and they can understand what we're singing about.
I feel like they're the Imagine Dragons. They're like that. Do you know what I mean? They're like palatable.
Yeah, this is very much what they have to say.
Yeah, like palatable, easy to sing along to, fairly clean, stuff like that.
So while they remain little known in the US and Europe markets, they've sold, like I said, millions in Asia, and they're not afraid to play off the beaten track. They've played in Myanmar, Mongolia, Nepal. In an incident that showcases Michael Learns to Rock's popularity in Asia, 20,000 fake tickets were sold, more than twice the number of real ones, for a concert in Hanoi, Vietnam in December 1997. And while the concert was on, those outside with fake tickets tried to break into the concert hall and riot police were deployed.
Oh my gosh, MLTR!
God.
Yeah, so this leads me to the question that I know you're all sitting on right now, which is, can you still see MLTR live? And the answer is a resounding yes.
Oh my God.
The group will perform in Jakarta October 16th before bringing their show to Surabaya on October 19th. And then they're tipped to perform their greatest hits at a concert in Singapore on October 24th.
Oh my God,
Go
good for them.
MLTR.
Dude,
So-
and the Philippines probably go, like, Philippines are the biggest fans. They love K-pop. They love K-dramas. They probably
They
freaking
have
love...
performed in the Philippines as well. I believe that I found them playing, like I said, when they were playing in Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia, when they were playing in Myanmar. These are not like on the beaten path. So they
No.
really have like put in the yards throughout Asia.
Good
So
for
were they a
them.
get? Kinda. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love that this was your question. That's
Me
awesome.
too.
So
I
I'm
nev-
going to say one last thing about this,
Yeah.
which is I also feel like I'm going to put an intention to the universe. And this is my intention.
Okay.
I want Michael Learns to Rock to come on the pod
I was just going to say that.
and talk about the experience of making eternal love.
I was just going to say that. We are manifesting having them on the pod as guests.
I am
Talk
going
about
to
a
start to
get.
reach out and figure out if we can get this get, because I feel like this would bring so much joy to the hearts of K-drama listeners and, fans of
Oh my
Healer.
God.
And if you would like to join me in this quest, if you at home are joining me, I think we need to figure out how to harness the energy of social media and K-drama to get Michael Learns to Rock, MLTR.
Yeah.
To take a break out of their schedule
And give
come
us an
speak to us.
unplugged session right here.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Tiny
On
desk.
Afternoona
Tiny
Delight.
desk of
Tiny desk. Tiny desk.
Oh,
Yes.
my love.
and we'll sing it with them.
That's amazing,
Oh my
Leah.
gosh.
That's the best ever. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I always like these episodes because I learned a lot, but I gotta say, not that this is like a competition, but I was most excited to learn about Michael Learns to Rock tonight.
Leah definitely earns the fun.
The get
I
of
can't
the
believe
week.
of all things that's what she's like. You know what? I'm gonna research Michael Learns to Rock. That was
I
great.
love it.
I loved it, and yeah, I think we definitely need to manifest.
And if that's
having
not
it.
an earworm in everybody's head right now, then you haven't watched Healer and you need to leave right now and go
Right.
do that.
I'm singing it in my head right now.
I am too. Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us. One thing is let us know if there's if you're watching a drama and a question comes up that you want answered, and let us do the research. Why do you have to do it? Just let us do it, and then we'll tell it to you. That's what we're
toss
here
it our
for.
way.
Yeah, let us know.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Yep.
Annyeong.
Kamsahamnida. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!